don't go believing anything I said. No, don't go believing me. No, don't listen to me, don't take any notice. Don't listen to anything that I say. Thank you.
Everything all right, Freddie?
Pardon?
Is everything okay?
When?
Now.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
But, I mean, you're ready for the video, that's what I'm saying.
What video?
Good afternoon. So what's happened?
Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. British citizens in Afghanistan are warned to stay away from Kabul airport amid fears of an imminent terror attack.
It comes as the evacuation effort enters its final days, with thousands still waiting to be airlifted to safety.
You know what my message is going to be.
We're distracted by vaccines and TV shows, politics, celebrity gossip, popular neat quotes.
He would use, as you may remember, he would use these very short words to get his points across.
That's obvious. We're over-dependent on automation. I can see that now. Now, the next time, everything's correctable.
We shall fight them on the beaches. To sum it up in a nutshell, it's hand, space, space. We shall fight them on the landing ground. Hands, face, space, get a test. You shall fight them on the hills and in the streets. Stay alert, control the virus, and save lives. We shall never surrender. I'm here solely on a humanitarian mission because you've been here all day and you've been incredibly patient and I feel very sorry for you because I have nothing to say about this matter except offer you some tea. There's only one word in that collection of words that has a Romance or Latinate origin, isn't there? All the rest are Anglo-Saxon, solid Anglo-Saxon words that get straight across to English-speaking peoples. What's the Latinate word? Surrender, correct. I think I repeated that often enough. Good. Very, very done. Hardly worth asking in an audience like this. Surrender. And what did he say, though, after we shall never surrender? Remember? Slightly contradicting himself. He then went on to say, and if.
I will. Yes, I'll be dangerous. I'll be so fucking dangerous. It's unbelievable. So fucking watch. Thick fucking space.
Fantastic Freddie.
I was in Afghanistan last year. My main role there was to examine the Zero units, which are militias of Afghan troops run by the CIA, so they're unaccountable to Congress, so they're unaccountable to the Afghan government.
So fucking watch. Thick fucking space.
Fantastic Freddie.
I think it looks to me as if the bigger problem is going to be what we've just been hearing, the problems with resources, food and things like that, to actually keep the people alive, rather than the Taliban creating terror attacks.
I'm here solely on a humanitarian mission because you've been here all day.
America invested heavily in equipment for the Afghan military.
Just a little over 3 months after I took office, U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in country. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001. And the Taliban was at its strongest militarily since 2001.
Between 2002 and 2017, $28 billion was spent, including weapons, ammunition, vehicles, helicopters and drones.
So, here are the return stocks of the 5 biggest defence contractors over the past 20 years. Lockheed Martin made a 1,236% return. So for 100 million investment, you know, a billion. I'm not very good at maths, but 1,236% seems like that seems good business being done over at Lockheed Martin.
And as the Taliban defeated the military, province after province, it took everything that was left behind.
Then there was Lend-Lease.
No exact inventory, but Mr. Kirby had this hope.
We don't want to see any weapons or systems that to fall into hands of people that would use them in such a way to harm our interests.
Which Churchill in public called the most unsordid act in history, and in private said we have been skinned and flayed to the bone. And when do you think, by the way, that the British government stopped paying Lend-Lease to the United States of America? When do you think? When do you think you folks decided our war debts were at an end? When was the last cheque handed in? Anybody know? 1970. Any advance on 1970? Any advance on 1970? It was 2006, and it was £42 million handed over by the British government to the American government. It's a cheque signed by Mr. Ed Balls, who now proposes to be. Which I'm rather proud of. It shows shows you there you go. It's probably why we got a AAA rating. We honour our debts. We honour our debts. But it shows that it was Lend-Lease was a pretty hard bargain. No one has ever performed the feat of ratting and then re-ratting as he did. No one has ever done it before. Plenty of people have crossed the floor once. Nobody has been a double crosser as effectively as he was.
The big crisis, of course, has been the disastrous attempt by the West to put in its puppet government over the last 20 years.
Creation is an act of sheer will. Next time it'll be flawless.
It's still the flea circus.
And one of the big products of all of that, of course, has been the poppy, the opium poppy, which has absolutely exploded in production. With these poppies being guarded by NATO troops.
Big Pharma doesn't cure you, dog, cause every patient that gets cured is a customer lost. And big oil runs the world. The only wars that get fought are with the countries who have natural resources they want.
And so that has been one, I think, of the main objects of actually being in Afghanistan. Nothing to do with, helping women's rights or whatever.
It's all an illusion.
When we have control again.
You never had control. That's the illusion.
Run by the CIA, so they're unaccountable to Congress, so they're unaccountable to the Afghan government. We're involved in various atrocities. We spoke to people in Jalalabad, the family of 4 brothers who were murdered, and weapons were dropped on their body to frame them as terrorists. They weren't involved in the insurgency at all.
In fact, WikiLeaks produced a document from the Central Intelligence Agency proving that women's rights were nothing to do with what they really wanted, but this was a convenient cover.
It's all an illusion.
When we have control again.
But that's how we get back to as close to normal as possible.
You never had control. That's the illusion.
So fucking watch. Thick fucking space.
Fantastic Freddie.
On Sunday, U.S. military forces conducted an unmanned over-the-horizon airstrike on a vehicle known to be an imminent ISIS-K threat. This self-defense strike successfully hit the target near Kabul airport. Significant secondary explosions from the targeted vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material.
In the Western press, I mean, we've seen very little proper analysis of what's really been going on anywhere in the press here. Mostly just the usual fear porn, fear-mongering.
Fake news, fake woke, distract and divide.
I was overwhelmed by the power of this place. But I made a mistake too. I didn't have enough respect for that power, and it's out now. The only thing that matters now are the people we love.
And the other important key thing is that it certainly looks as if the Taliban and the Mujahideen before them were a kind of puppet put there by Brzezinski and the Central Intelligence Agency way back in the 1980s.
Run by the CIA, so they're unaccountable to Congress, so they're unaccountable to the Afghan government.
Referring to these numbers in The Intercept, John Schwartz said, "These numbers suggest that it's incorrect to conclude that the Taliban's immediate takeover of Afghanistan upon the US's departure means that the Afghanistan war was a failure. On the contrary, from the perspective of some of the most powerful people in the US, it may have been an extraordinary success. Notably, the boards of directors of all 5 defence contractors include retired top-level military officers.
Taliban guard at Kabul airport says that the last American plane has now flown out after 2 decades of war. The United States government has not officially confirmed, but I can tell you this. Hamid Karzai International Airport, this is from air traffic control there, and this is an official notification sent out, and I'm quoting, effective immediately as of 3 minutes ago, Hamid Karzai International Airport, or OAKB, is now uncontrolled. No air traffic control or airport services are available. Aircraft operating into or out of Kabul or landing at the place should use extreme caution. Aircraft should adhere to standard reporting procedures. In other words, according to the reporting of the Associated Press and to air traffic control, all planes from the United States have now left Kabul. You may remember that the deadline for the United States to leave was tomorrow. Specifically, though, that's tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Kabul time. So Kabul is 8.5 hours ahead of Eastern time in the United States, which would be 3:29 p.m. tomorrow afternoon Eastern Daylight Time.
So fucking watch. Thick fucking space.
Fantastic Freddie.
I think I repeated that often enough. Good.
The whole world's raining.